I need approval of the agenda. We have motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. On to item 3, public comment. Is there any public comment? Is there any public? Nope. Okay, move on to item 4, committee items. Unless there's changes to the minutes from August 8th. I need a motion and support to approve the minutes as presented. And we have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimous. Move on to item 4B, the Treasurer's Report. Welcome, Madam Treasurer.
Good morning. Okay, so you should have a report from me, the quarterly report, with some statistics and data. I'll just go through this rather quickly. I do have an update, though. You know, when I've got to submit the report 2 weeks out, month end hasn't happened yet, and you'll notice that the auction occurred, so I want to update about that. But let's go through the report that you have before you. The monthly investment reports were sent via email. You should have received those, and those are also posted on the Treasurer's webpage. Just an update, another form of payment that we have started within, method of payment, we have started within the Treasurer's office is to allow taxpayers to fill out a form and have their taxes paid via ACH. ACH stands for Automated Clearinghouse, but what that basically means is the taxpayer signs an agreement which allows the Treasurer's office to go into their bank account and do a withdrawal to then credit to the taxes that are due and owing. And since we implemented that in May of 2016, we've processed over $23,000 to the Treasurer's office to help pay delinquent taxes from approximately 58 taxpayers. So it's been a very successful program that we rolled out. It's another form of payment to help those taxpayers that are in trouble and to get those taxes paid before we get to the point where we have to foreclose. So, and I get these forms daily. So we continue to see more taxpayers taking advantage of this form of payment, and I've really got nothing bad to say about it. I think it's if the taxpayer chooses to do that, it is working. Okay, so let's talk about the auction. The auction took place Wednesday, August 31st. The information that I provided for you just indicated those local units that took under their first right of refusal. I did forget one township, Norville Township, also did take one property under their first right of refusal. So we had a total of 50 parcels that were taken under the first right of refusal, and that was done prior to the August 31st auction. And we had a very good auction this year. And sales throughout the state of Michigan, from what we understand, has been significantly increasing. So we've got some good buyers out there. We had a very good auction here in Jackson. The total auction proceeds was $813,000. So very pleased with the results regarding that. We sold 58 parcels. So if you look at the $264,000 of the 50 parcels that we not really sold, but transferred under the first right of refusal, and then we sold 58 at the auction, totaling $813,000 and change. We had just over $1 million total for parcels that were sold under the first right in this auction, which is a very successful year. So we had 116 parcels that did not sell, and at this point, we do not have a date yet set for the second round of the second auction. We will hopefully do that mid-October is the date that we're looking at. This year, as we did last year, we will be bundling all the remaining properties and holding an auction, and any interested buyers will have an opportunity to come to the second auction and fill out a form requesting an interest or submitting a letter of intent, basically, of the properties that they're interested in purchasing. Once 12/31, December 31st rolls around, we then will contact those interested buyers and negotiate a sale of property for those remaining tax properties. We did that last year, and it was very successful. And at that point, we have more control of selling those properties versus letting those properties sell for $100 at the second auction. And once we explained the process to those interested buyers, they understood what we were trying to do, and all in all, I think it was a successful program we ran last year and intend to do the same this year. So if there's any questions about the auction, I just wanted to update the last bullet on the report about dog licensing, but I'll pause here if there's any questions about the auction. It's a lot of data, a lot of information, but remember, I had to submit the report to the board on the 29th, and the auction happened on the 31st. So, any questions about the auction?
Any question, board? I have one.
Yes.
What number did we have to achieve to break even on the auction? How close are we?
We actually went over our number, so we are in the good. We are in the black, not in the red, so it is a good thing. That's why I consider it a successful auction.
How many years has it been since we've said that?
3 or 4 at least. So it's good to know that we actually recouped everything that we needed to reimburse the delinquent tax revolving fund. Yes.
Excellent. Any questions, board? Last chance.
Yes, Commissioner Mahoney. Yes, absolutely, but I also think that it's indicative of the current economic environment that we're in as well. As I mentioned to you earlier, the sales are up for all the auctions throughout the state of Michigan, so I think it is both. Yes.
Any further questions on the auction? Mike?
What do you anticipate adding to the foreclosure fund? You're already covered your costs, so what's your expectation?
The land sale proceeds report that's really, that all treasurers are responsible to report as of June 30th. June 30th is passed, so we had the number of what we could transfer, what I could transfer over to the delinquent revolving fund. So I won't know those numbers until we get past the second auction, and as of 12/31, so that number I won't be able to report out until mid of next year at the earliest, but it's not due to the commissioners until June 30th. I'm hoping, yes. That is where, in all accounts, that is correct, yes, but because of the years where when we were in the red, state law also says that we can hold those funds. And I hate to use the word surplus, but in this case, there was surplus monies from this auction. And those years where we did not meet our minimum, by law, I can take any excess or any surplus and apply it to those years that were not made whole. We're still calculating those numbers.
And that's fine, thank you. The bottom line is we're adding to the fund.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of not, or being in a negative position. Correct.
Exactly, thank you.
Yes. Great. Okay, then the last item I just wanted to update on, you're all well aware of the new dog license program that we implemented and the new fee structure that we implemented in July. Since then, I've got some new numbers. I put down here that, and that was as of August, but since we implemented that July 7th, we have issued a total of, for the 9 weeks that we've been doing the program, 300 dog licenses in 9 weeks. I think that's pretty significant, for totaling just over $4,200. The breakdown is 215 of those 300 were one-year dog licenses, and 85 were 3-year dog licenses. So let me break that down. To me, that says that the information that went out regarding the new dog license program, the availability to get a dog license online, as well as the fact that dog licensing in the county of Jackson is required by law, that sent some information out to the taxpayers and dog owners to let them know that they need to have their dogs licensed. We've had a lot of new dog owners come in and get their license and tell us that they did not know that they needed to have their dog licensed. So it was an educational piece, and I think that's what you're seeing reflected in the one-year dog tags. And we're working with those dog owners that are trying to get their rabies vaccination in line with the 3-year. So we continue to transition into that. It has been very successful. People are very pleased with the option to do a 3-year dog license tag, and they really like the online dog licensing program option that's been made available. So are there any questions with regard to that dog license program or the dog fee change? We have seen a significant increase in dog licensing and dog license issues.
Questions, Board? Carl, you've got a question on your face. Okay.
If there are no further questions, then that's my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice report. Next up, item 4C, we have the Health Department. Welcome, Richard.
Good morning, all.
Morning.
We have a request before you today to eliminate one union part-time hearing and vision technician position and create a union part-time hearing and vision coordinator position. Our rationale for doing this is, of course, laid out in our staff report. The background is that, of course, Health Department has been providing hearing and vision screening services for children in schools in Jackson County since 1970. It is one of our mandated programs. And we screen about 22,000 children every year here in the community. About 10% are referred for physician evaluation. So it's a really important program for our community. Our current situation and our reason for coming to you for this request today is that, number one, we've been awarded additional funding from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for this program. The Bureau of Maternal and Child Health in Lansing and the State Health Department did a review about 2 years ago at this point in time of the allocation formula for funding this at the local level. And as a result of that review and study, we were able to be identified as eligible for additional funding. The formula was basically restructured, and as a result of that, we have more resources at our disposal now to help us cover the cost of this program. We want to use some of those resources to really convert one of these positions that we have as a .37 technician position into a coordinator position. Most of that work has been typically done by our Director of Health Education and Health Promotion, and I really want to free that person's time up to do more of the community-based health improvement work that we need her to be engaged in with us in the community with community partners. So the coordinator position would be basically a .60 position. It would be working throughout the entire year. Right now, our hearing and vision technicians only work during the school year, but we need the coordination work particularly as we run up to the beginning of each new school year in the fall to take place in the summer months. And so this coordinator position will give us the capacity to do that. So I'm hopeful that you're willing to do this for us. We want to have a staff member serve in this coordinator role to oversee the daily operations. We wanted to have them be able to conduct the daily, weekly, and quarterly reporting and scheduling, which is now done by one of my much more busy staff, if you will, or higher paid, and we don't need to be paying that much for that. To provide program orientation for new hired staff, and to serve as a liaison with the Head Start Health Services and coordinate and schedule screenings for all the school districts' Head Start and the Great Start program. So our financial information is also included in your board docs packet, and we do have the resources to cover this position, and I expect that we will have them on a permanent basis going forward into the other fiscal years. So we're requesting your support for this position.
Richard, these positions were posted back in July. Does that mean you're going to repost both these positions? And
Well, the position that we had probably posted back in July was for a vacant .37 position. So we have refilled that position. So any one of the currently certified technicians could apply for this coordinator position. They'll also be doing screening work as well. So it's not just taking a complete .37 FT out of the mix.
No, I understand. You had both these positions, though, posted in July, because I was contacted by a constituent who wanted to apply for these positions. And I'm asking you now, since you've refinanced them, do you intend to repost them, or are you going to go forward with the people who was hired in August, or was nobody hired for these positions?
Well, I don't recall posting two positions, I recall posting one. We did have a casual position posted,
Okay,
so that might be the other one you're thinking of. So the .37 technician position has been posted and filled. This is a new posting.
okay.
Yep.
Questions, board? I have a question. I'm a little bit confused here. You're talking about adding a .37 FTE and adding a .6?
No, we're eliminating one .37 and increasing that from .37 to .60. We're changing the grade from 5 to 8.
Okay.
And this has been reviewed by the ASME union, and they are in support of it.
That's how I took it. Then the conversation
Sorry.
sounded like we were adding both, I thought. Commissioner Elwell?
I'm just curious if the administrator supports this. Okay. Also move.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have facilities. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. The Facilities Department is requesting approval for the abatement and repair of the tower building chimney situation that we had. June 16th of this year, as I believe everybody's aware, we had some internal insulating material that had become dislodged and accumulated at inside the chimney, in an area that we're not able to normally inspect. So with this, there was some sort of event where it reached critical mass, dislodged, and was able to make it to the bottom of the chimney, rendering it unusable. So our current situation now is we're not able to start the boils to maintain heat for the building for the winter season. Facilities has obtained multiple options to take care of this, that being temporary heat or temporary chimney system. And with this recommendation, it would be the most viable option, not only monetarily, but for the long term. We'll be able to maintain or retain our chimney, and we won't have a trailer outside or a stack or that sort of thing. So with this, we have some numbers here available, and I can explain those if necessary.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a couple. Tim, what is the inside construction of the chimney? Is it masonry, or is it steel inside, or what is it?
It's a steel material, riveted, basically a boilerplate material. It's lined with a collection of a high-temperature mortar-based material and an asbestos-containing material.
And that's on the inside of the steel portion of it?
On the inside,
And
yes.
that's what has broken loose in spots and fallen down?
Yes, and it's basically broken down to a smaller material similar to a cellulose, and then just kind of bunched up, that sort of thing, and fell to the bottom.
So the plan is, we remove everything that's accumulated at the bottom, they knock everything else loose that's in there, then they physically go in and put some kind of patching material on the spots that need it?
Exactly, yes.
And what is the diameter of it, ballpark?
36 inches square.
And that's where a man's gonna go down, or a
Yes.
person down through there?
That's where some of the cost comes from. They have to have their people, the chimney repair company is trained in this type of situation and confined space, but they weren't trained in the asbestos abatement, so they're going to acquire that training, so they'll be able to cover both sides of it.
And if I understand it right, what I've been told, the chimney takes a curve or turn when it comes down at some point, at least one?
Yes, and that's where the difficulty comes in. That's where a lot of the material has amassed and over the years has collected and
And they're able to get down beyond that portion as well,
Yes.
apparently?
Yes, and the most critical part, and the question that we all have is when we get down there, is to knock loose what is loose now, let it go the rest of the way down, and then just be very careful on the horizontal areas to not knock anything else loose.
And then is there a plan, well, we don't know what, I mean, there's just been speculation on what caused that to break loose, but
Yes.
is it wide open at the top, and is there a plan to do anything different up there, or not?
It is wide open, and that's what it requires, but we have discussed a rain cap,
Grading it or something?
that would allow us, proper ventilation and draw, but not allow the rain to penetrate.
That's all my questions, thank you.
Further questions? I have one. This is basically a permanent fix. It isn't a Band-Aid.
At this point, yes, this will be a permanent fix so we can retain the chimney and allow it to operate in proper function.
Okay.
And with this inspection, the personnel will go all the way down to make a really good assessment of where everything is. But what we can see from the video inspection is all the vertical section is in very good shape. So, but we'll have a really close look at it this way.
This is the one, Mike, that you'd sent out with a weekly update with a not to exceed of 49,000, I believe? Okay. Direction board?
This goes to the full board, does it not? I would so move the request.
We have a motion and support to send this to the full board. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimous. Thank you, and a good explanation.
Thank you.
Next up, we have item 4E, purchase of a new patrol car. Welcome.
Good morning. As you know from the previous meeting, Concord Township has dissolved their police department. They are left with a fairly new Ford Police SUV. That is my hope that I'm requesting approval to purchase. The situation that we're in is that one of our patrol cars was damaged and became inoperable during one of the torrential rainstorms in July. The insurance adjusters had looked at it. The engine had taken water in. The car is a total loss. They declared it a total loss and reimbursed the County of Jackson for the cost of that vehicle. As we were looking to obtain a new vehicle, Concord Township brought this issue to us that they, since no longer have a police department, they have this fairly new 2015 Ford Explorer or Ford Police Interceptor SUV, same model that we use, equipped with all the emergency equipment, and we are hoping to purchase that from them for $20,000. We have had our mechanic at the Fleet Garage look at this vehicle. It is in good working order, solid mechanical condition. All of the emergency equipment appear to be installed by some type of professional upfitter. There are a few small modifications we'll have to make to it, which is not unusual, just to make it fit the rest of our vehicles, so everything is uniform. So the Township of Concord did have a special board meeting on Thursday and did approve this from their end. So I'm looking for approval from this body to move forward on this purchase. And again, the funds have already been allocated to the County of Jackson for the loss on that vehicle. It does provide a good financial agreement, or I guess situation. It alleviates Concord Township of a vehicle they don't need. And we were able to obtain a fairly new, good working order patrol vehicle for much less than if we bought one brand new.
Just to Undersheriff, did we recoup enough from the insurance claim to fully pay for this as one?
Yes, we recouped $24,506.
And what are the miles on the new one, ballpark, if you know?
It has, I have in here 25,000, but it actually has, I think, like 27, Dan said.
Thank you.
Further questions? Okay, we have a motion support to proceed with this action. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Thank you. You have your car.
Thank you.
Do they, Undersheriff, is there a closing down their department? Is there more stuff out there that is going to be coming up?
Not necessarily. They had liquidated most of their things. It was a one-man operation, so most of the items were singular in nature. A lot of it was, as I believe, purchased by him.
Okay, thank you. On to item 4F. welcome. IT department with some requests.
Good morning. I apologize for my voice. I woke up Sunday morning with a terrible cold. This first request is for procurement of high-speed disk drives for our storage area network. This will serve two purposes. First is it'll allow us to reconfigure the storage area network into more of an industry standard where we have three-tiered high-speed, medium-speed, and low-speed disks. This will result in greater performance for all of the applications that are running on the county system. The other is to provide additional storage space as we increase the amount of data that we collect and the areas that we automate. We, of course, have a greater need for additional storage space. This particular arrangement is a new technology which will give us much better performance than the current drives that we have. So the current drives will remain, and this will be in addition to what we currently have.
Questions? Straightforward. I need a motion and support.
Don, I just got one question if I can.
Go ahead, David.
It looks like they're 480 gigabyte drives, 7 of them built into the device. That just seems small to me. I mean, everything anymore we talk about seems to be measured in terabytes.
Right. These drives are actually used as part of the storage area network. In that case, they're used as an array of disk drives. And the size is because of the fact that this is a newer technology. In fact, they increased the size of the drives since I first asked for a quote about 6 months ago. So these are pretty much leading edge, and they are much faster. We anticipate that there'll be some additional breakthroughs in technology shortly, but the price point at that would be higher than would be advantageous for the county.
Okay, we are all set on the motion request, or the motion support, and all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike, go ahead.
Don, memory is relatively inexpensive, yet at the same time, we keep having challenges running out of space. We've talked about it before. Could you describe for the board some of the things we're doing to try to minimize, how do I say, the overusage of our storage? I know we're working on, well, I'll just add this part and you can chime in though, that we're working on a policy actually in regard to retention. Of course, the state retention list isn't, let's just say they haven't kept up with the times, but at the same time, that is a law we pretty much need to follow. So we're looking at that to see what we do or do not have to keep. What can we delete and what time, how sensitive is it, and so forth. And I know Don has recently sent out some emails, but if you could speak to that just a little bit, Don, I appreciate it.
Certainly. We've done some research on utilization of the disk drives, and we find that, if I remember my numbers correctly, about 40% of the information has not been accessed in the past 2 years. So we're following a multi-pronged strategy. The first was a county-wide broadcast email requesting that everybody remove information that was not necessary. And in this case, we were trying to address the existing county policy on personal storage of personal videos, personal photos. Some folks store streaming, store music and the like. So we're trying to get them to remove that. The other part of the strategy, as Mike indicated, is we're looking at a retention policy. And there's two aspects to this retention that we need to look at. The first aspect is identifying information that must be retained for archival purposes. And the second, of course, is looking at superfluous information. We are currently exploring the possibility of using an archive system that would allow us to roll out data that is not needed but is still required to be retained. So in this case, we would roll that data into an archive, And if it were ever needed, they could put in a request, and we would retrieve the data and make it available to them. But in the meantime, it would not be utilizing space on our disk drives.
What, I don't know how quick it would be for your department to go back into the archives and find what is needed. Is that a relatively quick and simple process? Or would do we need to balance out the cost of a new memory system or labor in the near future?
The archive system that we would use would be one that would maintain catalogs, so that we would have the ability to identify where that information is stored. We used this in previous jobs, and depending on the technology, the solution varies. The one we had was a robotic system that stored things on tape, and when data was needed, the IT department tech would enter the information, the robot would retrieve the data and restore it to a particular point on the disk drives.
So it's not labor intensive, and it wouldn't be a hardship on your department if you got 2 or 3 requests for something from 10 years ago. I mean, are we gonna have to wait 3 days for you to find it and retrieve it and bring it back?
No. The intent here is to provide full cataloging like a library. You go to the library card catalog, find what you're looking for, and it'll tell you exactly where it is, and it'll get retrieved and restored. I think the only discussion that we have had is whether we have that set up so that the users can do it for themselves, or whether they have to go through the department as a help desk ticket request. The trade-off in that, of course, is cost. If you get a system that allows the user to do it on their own, the cost is much higher. If you get a system that can be done through the department but requires a work order request, then the cost is significantly lower.
That's what I was looking at, is if we balance things out,
Yes.
are we going the right way, really?
Yes, the industry standard really is to look at information, and if it's not been accessed in a particular period of time, it's rolled off into archive.
Questions? Mike, go ahead.
If I can ask one question of you, why would we even move physical files to another location versus digitizing them and putting them somewhere?
Well, yeah, some of that is cost, and some of that is, again, I think and I'm no expert on the state retention list, but the state doesn't necessarily allow us to digitize and then destroy a paper file. The technology's not quite the same yet. And frankly, I guess to some extent, I can appreciate that. I mean, I've personally lost photos of my kids over the years, whereas if I'd have had a darn piece of paper photo, I'd still have that photo, you know? And, in fact, you know, I've read a number of articles on retention in a sense that, what do we do for long-term retention? I have files, Word files, no less, that I cannot open anymore. I would need a software that's more than 10 years, 15 years old to be able to open up this file. It's the same thing with our stuff, so we save these things electronically, and let alone 10 years from now, 50 years from now, you can't access it. What are we going to do? They haven't figured that out yet, to my knowledge, of how they're going to do that. The paper's solid, but electronics, it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some discussion in the IT world about a impending, what they term digital dark age, as data gets transferred over and then it's put away for years and then nobody has the software to be able to read it.
Where we're at now, did we approve this? Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of questions at the end. I think they were all good concerns. Moving on to finance. Welcome, Mr. Latham. Pardon? I thought we approved both at once. Okay. A second, we need to approve item 4G, second request. Okay, we've got a motion support for item 4G. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Thank you, Board. Now we're on finance 4H. We have two items to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're presenting the monthly financial statements for July of 2016. Our budget benchmark is 58.3% on the expenditure side. Three-year average is 56.5, actual is 56.7, so we're pretty much on target on the expenditure side. However, with respect to the income, if we look at the trend analysis, we're a little bit behind the pace. However, if you'll note on page 4, starting in August and September, this is when we collect most of our property tax revenues, so we should see an uptake in revenue in the following months. I've also looked at some items where we are under, in other words, the amounts received are under the pace and have been assured that we're catching up in certain areas. For example, prosecuting attorney, those reports have gone to the state. The state has not paid us for 2 to 3 months on reimbursement and so forth. The GIS, for example, bills just went out. We bill local units for GIS services, so the 90,000 approximately should be coming in shortly. And also under information technology, there are some items we need to bill there. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Question on the financial budget update? No questions? We'll move on to item 4I, Health Department budget updates. Are you part of that, or is it just the Health Department?
I can address that, and that's
Okay.
just routine. The year end of the Health Department is September 30th, so we're doing some updates for the remainder of the year. Plus, there's some additional revenue, some additional indirect costs that we're able to receive, and also some additional grants, increase in STD grant from the federal government, and also state funding of HIV prevention is the major changes there.
Firming up the numbers. We received additional revenue and we spent it.
I'd move the budget adjustments.
Support? All in favor of the budget adjustment for the Health Department indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item 5, we need to pay the claims. Have motion support to pay the claims. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. We have other minutes. Don't believe we have any. We've got October reporting schedule, you can see. Public comment? Committee member comment? Thank you, board. Meeting adjourned.